Hello and welcome to India Today SoSouth. I am Sanjay Ponappa. So now, the whole Darshan arrest case is seemingly taking different directions every other day with new evidences coming to the light. But one thing that has to be noticed is that the whole Sandalwood fraternity seems to have remained silent about this issue. There hasn't been anybody who significant who have come up and said something about this issue, raised a voice against this. Even the film chamber seems to have taken a back seat, saying that they will wait until the whole verdict or a decision or a charge sheet is filed against the actor until they take any significant action against him. To talk more about this, we have with us Chetan Kumar, who's an actor in the industry and also an activist. Welcome to the show, Chetan. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Firstly, please tell us, what is your opinion about this whole issue? What do you think about the proceedings of this case?
First off, Darshan over the past 10 to 15 years, maybe about 13 years, has had consistent run-ins with the law. He's a very big star in Kannada film industry. In fact, he might be the biggest star in Karnataka right now. But star is, of course, not gauged on the fact of his values or his insights or his talent even. Star is based on box office collections. So that's what film industry values. So on that level, Darshan has always been a big star. But this allegations of like murder allegations of like kidnapping, of trying to cover up the murder, and the serious kind of heinous, gruesome way that Renuka Swami was apparently killed that the postmortem shows. This is by far the most grave and the most serious allegations against Darshan. This will have long-term ramifications, I would say, on potentially his work in the film industry, the film industry in terms of star power. Because 2 years ago we lost a good friend of mine and a very important pivotal part of the film industry, Puneet Rajkumar, Mr. Rajkumar's son. He also passed away. He passed away, and it was a big loss for the film industry. So how the industry will introspect, recoup, and do content-oriented cinema, and in spite of not having a star in the mix or having a star with a very big black mark and a question mark in the mix, was yet to be seen.
But Chetan, again, my question, the primary thing to be noticed here is not many people are raising their voice against this. There hasn't been, apart from you who's talking to us and probably Ramya who took to social media recently, there hasn't been any notable name from the Kannada industry who has actually raised their voice against this. What is your take on this? Is this an issue that all of Sandalwood should unite and raise their voice against? What is happening here?
See, number one, an industry doesn't unite on anything except money. Okay, the industry is not about ideology, it's not about values, it's not about hopes and dreams and aspirations. The industry is all about money. So when it comes down to money, the industry will unite potentially. But if it's not about money, if it's about the transgressions of a film star, the industry will, each individual will take his or her own opinion and stay mum accordingly. In fact, 2.5 years ago, when Hamsa Lekha is a very big film industry music director and songwriter. He's probably the one who has contributed the most to the film industry, who's still alive. When he was put into a very difficult position and potentially in jail 2.5 years ago, me and a select other kind of equalitarian organizations stood on behalf of him. But the entire film industry was mum. That's when I realized the film industry has no spine and courage. The film industry doesn't have social concern, and the film industry doesn't have a kind of insight on what is going on. It's just an existential box office interest that the film industry has. Money is what it all boils down to. And in this particular case, many people know Darshan. Darshan has quite a known place in the film industry as a star, as a box office, as a hero, as a personality. And also, many people might be afraid of what the so-called fans see. The whole idea of film personalities having fans in and of itself boggles my mind. What contribution do you have for society that you deserve a fan following? But the fans and their work and their troll army and their threats and their transgressions will kind of put a lot of people at a difficult position. They might not want to talk. They might not want. They might be afraid of what the media will ask them, and they might not have answers for those questions. So I am also disappointed that the film industry is essentially mum on this situation, and the film chamber has also been kind of dragging its feet on this issue. But overall, I am not surprised because the film industry, by and large, does not have necessarily a conscience that we expect. The film industry is all about profits and box office collections, and that's what an industry is, and that's also very disappointing because the kind of content that we make oftentimes are socially conscious, but when push comes to shove, we stay mum and we accept these realities and we almost cover up these realities, and we sometimes even justify these kind of misbehaviors as a matter of fact it may be police wrongdoing or somebody else's wrongdoing or just a bad time, when it's actually a serious character flaw that is undeniable in this context.
But while you say all of this, there was also this perception that in the olden days, the seniors, someone like Amrish, always stood in the forefront and tried to mediate such issues and solve them within the fraternity itself. Like you say, has this always been the issue, or was there actually a time when such seniors used to come forward and help sort this whole issue out?
No, there was a time, if you look at the 2011 episode that Darshan himself was embroiled in, and that was an issue that he had assault against his wife, serious assault against his wife, and it's like she gave a complaint, and Amrish was involved at that time heavily with the film industry, and I don't want to say protected or supported, but he handled the situation in the best interest of, I would say, Darshan rather than justice. So he did handle the situation, and maybe that at the time was one of the first times that Darshan had a very serious run-in with the law. And he also, 14 days later, after he went to jail, and Vijay Lakshmi, his wife, pulled out the case against him, he also apologized. He said, "I'll never do this again. I am questioning myself and my wrongs, and I will apologize to my fan following." But clearly, that is not long lasting, and he didn't stand by his words. So even if the seniors try to patch it up, they're not holding the hands of these actors and these stars day by day, every minute of the day. They're not monitoring every action they do, every place they go, who they interact with, what they do. So in 2011, Mr. Amrish, who was a very known figure in Kannada film industry, I also knew him quite well. He might have handled it to the best of his ability, and different issues came up even when we fought against in favor of the victims of the Me Too and against the Me Too onslaught and casting couch in 2018. Mr. Amrish was there, but in spite of these so-called elders and seniors in the industry just by its very framework and structure as an unregulated industry with various different departments, whether it be the executive producers, the distributors, whether it be the artist association, whether it be the directors, whether it be different producers association, workers association, these different departments all kind of seemingly working together, but also working for self-interest, then what happens is it becomes a very difficult industry to unite. It becomes very difficult industry when something goes wrong to patch it up and make sure that doesn't happen. I've seen so many times workers have died on the sets, and I have even on my films there has been a mother and daughter who died from a bomb explosion, and the producer was forced to go to jail. So these kind of mishaps happen. The film industry is not so good in handling these kind of hiccups and road bumps. The film industry is just about getting a film, releasing it, and then kind of you manage. If your profits come, great. If it doesn't come, like 95 to 98% of films, tough luck. So it's kind of a dog eat dog industry. It's more of a kind of a cutthroat capitalist, hyper capitalist industry. And the way our films promote this hyper masculinity, this toxic masculinity, this violence culture is also very problematic because this violence culture influences both the audiences and the actors and the stars themselves, and probably makes them act and behave this way where they can get away without any kind of consequences to their actions. And this is the way a real man or a true man or a real masculine individual is supposed to act. So the kind of messages we spread on screen is also problematic, and off screen there's a lot of unregulated elements in the film industry. I don't even know if the film industry can technically even ban Darshan, because what happens is when it comes to a ban, the film industry cannot stop the freedom that any individual has in producing a film if he or she wants to. If they want to say tomorrow, I don't care about Darshan's past. I don't care about what is charge sheeted. I don't care about what he is convicted for. I want to produce a film with him, and I'll put my money on him, and he's willing to act, and I'm willing to get other people who are willing to do technical work. Then I can get money back, and he releases his film. I don't know if that can be stopped by the film industry technically. So I don't even know if it can technically ban. It can maybe censure, it can condemn, but I don't know if it can ban. It's not like a government agency. So with all these limits,
Yeah, but
it
there
becomes
has been some news that the film chamber has said that although they can't ban, there is this non-cooperation policy that they can put forward, where the around 28 other associations that are affiliated to this chamber can stop working with Darshan and avoid him totally. Is that something that exists? Has that happened before?
See, that has happened in the past for other people in very trivial ways. I mean, one time, I think it was in 2011, 12, that time, when even in Darshan's context, when he had supposedly had a relationship with a co-actor, and she was blamed or held culpable for destroying his family, his husband and wife relationship, and she was subsequently so-called banned. Well, then since she's not a big star, since maybe she doesn't have that much money riding on her, then a lot of people might kind of uh, not work with her, censure her, keep her out of their films, and that might affect her career. But Darshan being a big money maker for the producers, Darshan being a big blockbuster like film star, then it becomes much more difficult to have an overarching kind of agreement not to work with him, because somebody with money, some point, whether it be tomorrow or in like 5 years, will say, hey, I want to put money on Darshan. He has a big fan following, and I want to make money on that, and that is my constitutional freedom. So freedom is an integral part of our constitution's preamble, and so how can you curtail that freedom even if you say 28 departments will not go along with it? To what level will they not go along with it? Will workers
Do you
not
think
work?
Darshan will remain the star he is today after the case subsides? Do you think that once he gets out of all this, even if he does get out of all this, because evidence suggests otherwise, do you think he'll remain the same star and the producers will actually want to work with him after all of this?
Yeah, I don't know the future, but one thing I do know is that film fans and film followers are not your fans and followers because of what you are in real life. They like you, or they admire you, or they idolize you unjustifiably for the roles you play on screen. So, if Darshan, even after he came out of jail for 14 days in 2011, his film Sadati became a blockbuster sensation, and the fan following youth went even more crazy. And even after many other incidences, he had a successful film maybe about 6 months ago in Katera. So obviously film success doesn't depend on the star, film success doesn't depend on the protagonist, film success depends on the writers, the director, the production unit, the talent around, the creativity. But it is possible that time will make people forget, or the memory will change, and in time it is possible that once Darshan gets out of jail, one thing is for sure: the black mark will remain, the stain will remain, the stain on the film industry, the stain on Darshan's reputation will remain all his life. But will that adversely affect his career? That's yet to be seen. We know that in Bollywood, we have actors such as Salman Khan, Sanjay Dutt, who have had very checkered past, very questionable histories, and they have done a very successful commercial careers subsequently. So it's not that your questionable personal life will automatically limit your professional career or your box office collections. Oftentimes, it's the adverse, it's the reverse. They have an inverse relationship oftentimes, and that is what is unfortunate. But I don't think a banning is possible, and I don't think. I don't know what's going to happen with Darshan on a personal level when it comes to like going to jail or being tried for this or serving a sentence. And those roles are hyper roles that Darshan plays, and those roles are oftentimes roles that get the box office collections rolling. And he will also, considering our society that is capitalist and money driven and driven for profit driven, he will, I would say, will potentially have a have interested producers for a long time to come, considering
And
what is going on, regardless of his personal transgressions.
And talking about the fans, because it's not just the actor who's been in the news for everything that he has done before, but also the fans keep coming back up and creating issues for him. We've seen the fans going and mobbing senior actors like Jagesh because of some comment that he may not have made. There has been many other issues, fan wars, fans attacking other fans, Darshan fans actually ridiculing Puneet Rajkumar and his fans even after his death. All these issues have happened. So, is there a toxic fan culture that exists, especially in Karnataka, the way how much the fans love their favorite actors?
Without a doubt. And that is not a toxic fan culture as much as a toxic star culture. See, the star culture, these people who have such little contribution, including myself, to the success of a creative success of a film, are elevated to like larger than life status on so many levels, these film stars. And even after their death, they're given memorials by taxpayer funds. And even after their death, they're worshipped unjustifiably. So the whole star culture creates a group of people who are diehard fans, who will be fans to any level in spite of the questionable actions of their so-called idol. It's only when society has like true role models that are not film stars, cricket players, rich industrialists, or politicians, that are people who selflessly serve for an egalitarian society as the role models that can build a better society. But I'm not saying that all of Darshan's fans agree with these actions of Darshan or potential alleged actions. I'm not saying everybody supports these actions, but there is a fringe kind of extremist, kind of toxic fan following who will justify the behavior and the misbehavior of the star no matter what, and that is very unfortunate. And that is shown even in the pen drive issue. That is shown in even in many corruption issues when a politician has gone to jail for corruption, he or she comes out and they are garlanded and like so many sloganeering in support of them. So this kind of blind fan following is an unfortunate reality of society. We as conscientious people, you as the media, many people must undermine the whole idea of star worship, star culture, and stars being placed on a higher pedestal than they ever deserve. We're all equal. We need an egalitarian society. And this is the way that our constitution was written. And this is the idea and spirit of India. And this star culture, this violence culture, this toxic masculinity, and various factors, and also I would say maybe even psychological issues for Darshan, have all combined to create this mayhem and this disastrous situation where one person has lost his life in a very brutal and heinous way, and 13 to 17 people are in potentially might be serving a jail sentence for this.
And let's not forget that most of these co-accused are actually fans of Darshan. They are part of his fan association. So these extremist fans that you just told about, are they the ones that make other Sandalwood actors worry about coming out and speaking about this? These are the extremist fans that actually make Sandalwood mum about this issue.
See, when I spoke about other film stars and their questionable behavior, I got a lot of vile, lot of very inappropriate, lots of hate messages from these so-called fans. Fan comes from the word fanatic, fanatic. So you're a fanatic for somebody undeservedly, not from what he or she believes in, stands for, represents, but the characters he or she gets a chance to play on screen, which are oftentimes role model characters, but they're not role models in real life. So yes, there can be this kind of, as you mentioned, toxic fandom. And what is ironic, and what I heard Mr. Ram Gopal Verma mention, was that even this Renuka Swami was killed, like Darshan a lot, may have been interested in meeting him, may have been excited by it, maybe even a small time fan of his. So it's funny that it's not funny. It's unfortunate and it's ironic that the fans of one guy are beating up and killing brutally his own other fans for the support or for the approval of the idol himself. But I would say the problem is not just the fans. The problem, most importantly, is a fish rots from the head. And so I would say the problem is the stars themselves. They they pour oil into the fire of this toxic fandom. They they advocate it. They never question them. They don't challenge them. They use them almost as a kind of what we say is patalam. We say almost like a core group of people that support them wherever they go, both in theory and in action, and that gives them more kind of physical strength, more importance in society, a lot of status. So these stars must actively question the behavior of these kind of fans gone crazy kind of people and say this is not acceptable, this is not doable. In fact, if you look at Mr. Puneet Rajkumar never had such fans who would go to such levels as maybe other stars do. So I mean, it's also the way that the star carries himself or herself that influences these fans. So when they say the fish rots from the head should also be have his or her head on straight, and they should educate and through actions, not just through words, how what is right behavior and what is appropriate kind of code of conduct. And these fans will then, who have already tried to emulate these stars, will hopefully emulate them in the right way instead of taking these kind of law into their own hands and doing these heinous crimes, which they will all be punished for if they've really done that.
While we're talking about the responsibilities of these big stars, coming back to the whole issue about Sandalwood being mum, the way these big stars are being silent about this issue, doesn't this send a wrong message to the fans who might think that doing such a thing is okay and we are supposed to support our favorite actors when something like this happens?
See, the vast majority of Karnataka society are not film star fans. At least they're not the film star fans of the film stars that are alive today. So the vast majority of Karnataka society looks at the film industry with a certain amount of distrust, as a kind of questionable industry, as a morally bankrupt industry, as an industry that does not stand for the values that it claims to stand when a successful film comes out, or the message in the film. It doesn't stand for those values behind the screen, so people know the reality. So now, while the more the film industry stays mum on this issue, the more the film industry kind of glosses over this issue, or kind of, I don't want to say justifies it, but covers up in its own way, the more the film industry's name will be tarnished as someplace that allows such people to grow and even respects such people for their economic growth in spite of their questionable morals and their questionable values. So the film industry, if it doesn't talk, if it doesn't express outrage, if it doesn't challenge one of its own who has clearly gone astray in the past 13, 15 years, then it's going to be long-term effects itself for the film industry, and its own reputation is going to be at stake, because the film industry's reputation is already questionable. It's already when it comes to like Me Too actions, when it comes to such behavior from the film stars, when it comes to various kinds of like words and dialogues that people from the film industry have clearly said. When it comes to toxic fandom, film industry's already reputation is in disarray and is on the bottom of the totem pole. I think the more the film industry stays quiet, the more that respected people and elders in the film industry don't take a stand on this clearly heinous kind of action that is potentially make and not stand up for what is right. It's going to hurt the film industry long term, not just Darshan as an individual, but overall in the film industry in totality will take a hit as not necessarily a role model place that it claimed to be in the Rajkumar era, in the Vishnuvardhan era.
Right. Thank you so much, Chetan, for giving us your time and joining us on India Today SoSouth.
Thank you for having me.
Well, since the Darshan arrest case is taking so many new directions, one direction that is standing out is that, or one particular thing that is standing out is that the whole Sandalwood remains silent about this. Although there have been a few instances where actors have come out and spoken about it, actors like you just heard Chetan speaking about this, you could see Ramya speaking about this, Ramya or Divya Spandan, and Ram Gopal Verma, veteran director of the Indian film industry, speaking about such issue. There still remains this silence within the industry and the ones who are active right now. Will that send a right message? What sort of message is that? Is not only Darshan's reputation but is the reputation of the whole Kannada film industry at stake? Well, the repercussions will have to wait and watch as the case unfolds further. For more information about the case and the proceedings, stay tuned to India Today So South. I am Sanjay Ponnappa and you are watching India Today So South.